walking into alumni of individuals who's second and third time being back, but this time you're coming back specifically to tell us about your experience with COVID-19 during the pandemic, because when you were here, you mentioned that was your capacity. You were in that, and I was really curious to how did it look for you and what did you do? But before I want to say this is IGSTS. Let's say I know behind the scenes, but I want to welcome back.
Katina.
Hey, how you doing? Nice good. Smile, Southern girl, nice smile. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. It's update. How have you been since we last spoke? How's everything going? Did your daughter went to college?
She did.
Yeah, it was a good feeling.
It is.
You cry?
Empty nester. I cry all the time.
You really.
Yeah, I miss the mess out of her. So
yeah, she said, "Mom, stop crying."
Yeah, and she gets mad and says, "I'm gonna just talk to you later."
Is she coming home for the holiday?
No, she's going to Ohio with her dad. So.
Oh, okay.
But I just saw her like 2 days ago.
What university? Where is she at?
She goes to Fisk University.
Oh, yeah. I know. You don't have to tell me.
Yes,
it's good. What made her go there? I mean, I'm not trying to say what made her go there, but like it's kind of like you don't, in that area you see people hitting 8, but not up here, So
and that's why.
Okay.
So she had enough of Midwest Northern life, and she wanted to be around
some cornbread and collard green.
Her people.
Yeah.
Yep.
How's she doing that?
She loves it. After her first semester, she knew she would be living in Nashville for a while. So, yeah. She has no desire to come back. To live anyways.
Well, the thing about it is because I started off at HBCU. It was just a small little 4 years. It was a 4-year though, but it was in Florida. But the thing about it is because we went up to FAM, and what I saw a lot in that is that especially down south, once you go into sorority or fraternity and you start getting yourself networking and going to those colleges down there mean a lot. Job security, housing. I mean, it's so much ritualistic. And I don't even want to use that word because it's not even that. It's just this. It's a camaraderie, brother, sister. It's just a lot of love when you go through those schools. Because I went up, like I said, when I was at my school, we went up to FAM for something. I was in something that took us up there for a night or a weekend, and I just remember being up there and just experiencing Black folks for the first time.
Yeah.
But for me, it's totally different because it's after school days.
Oh yeah,
Spike Lee. So I was all into that's what got me going. Like, hey, I'm going to all Black college, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, it does show you your way in the world. You do meet a lot of African American individuals who have a lot of influence within this country that you didn't even know about, and you start seeing the history of this country, like the history of the schools, how the schools were founded. And then it just really wakes you up to understanding broader than what this vanilla education can give you.
I agree.
So my hat's off to her. Yeah. What's her major?
Accounting.
Okay.
She actually just got awarded a scholarship 2 weekends ago from the Alliance of Black Women Accountants.
There you go. Take it.
We went to California and to see a room full of like just professional, beautiful Black accountant women.
Doing that.
Red bottoms, nice cars, doing their thing, and then just throwing money towards other young Black accounting students. It was a beautiful thing. So.
Well, that's what this wakes you up and makes you, and then that networking. That's to know that person, to be able to call that person up or be able to put them down on a resume, or just be able to be like, go to that firm and be like, hey, I know such and such. It's just a beautiful thing. And so I was, like I said, I mean, that's my daughter just graduated. And shout out to her. She just graduated and she went out and she went to get her offer letter, and it's just crazy how much money they're paying her to move in, but she's only 23 and it's that's what we work for, right?
Right.
For them to put them in that spot. So then we can just like, you know what I told her as soon as she got the offer letter, I said, we're going straight to the car dealership.
Yeah, well, hopefully she'll get to that point. Right now I'm paying a car note for her to drive as I drive her bucket.
It's going to pay it. But but the thing about it is I was just talking to someone, it's coming up, you know. I love to be in that situation where I could be able to do that for my children, because I wish it was done for me. So it's just like, it's the progression, and she's gonna be in a whole different spot when she gets ready to graduate. So our conversation is just about can you tell us what you do currently?
So currently I am a program manager that coordinate housing services for homeless families. So what we do is once a family has been identified as homeless, we assess them and put them on a priority list, and subsidized housing programs reach out to us when they have vacancies, and we fill those vacancies with homeless families. So before that, I actually worked at a homeless shelter. I was a manager at a homeless shelter right when COVID first started. So you're dealing with the homeless, or just basically housing. Now the housing part, but at first I was just dealing with
people coming
the shelter side.
But every individual in this situation needs a home, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They're homeless. Some in different stages, and you do, like I said, a family opposed to an individual, I'm assuming.
Yep. So we deal with families only.
You deal with families only. All right. So what we're going back to is just right before COVID hit, where you were working in a shelter, and just how things changed from when you worked in a shelter. So you worked in a shelter during COVID, just before it hit, or
I had been there for 5 years before it hit.
Before it hit, and then how long into COVID did you work in a shelter?
About 6-7 months. 6-7
months. So the first day that you guys start getting information about it, was there a protocol set up, or were you okay? What was the protocol?
Initially it was, is this real? Is this really happening? And then we get information from like the government, and you're having more meetings about it. And so we decided that we had to put the shelter on lockdown, which was hard for families who already have a curfew. They have to be in by 10:30, and now we're telling them they can't go anywhere unless it's required, like if you have to go to work or a doctor's appointment or anything like that, because school has shut down. So they didn't have a reason to, for their kids to go to school. So we had to have daily meetings to explain why we were doing things. We would have to give updates every day about what the CDC was saying, so we can explain why we're making these decisions. We decided to do temperature checks every day. We had to change the way we did mealtime, because we did breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. We had to separate it. We had to change our social area and change that into a dining room to make it more space for people to eat, to be able to spread them out more. And like just the social aspect of shelter, where the kids were able to go and play on the playground and, do things that they normally would be able to do. They couldn't do it anymore.
So I mean, so like first, when you first started talking to me, I was just envisioning a person who needed shelter coming to your facility. You told them no?
So we didn't say no.
Okay.
No. We're also ran by higher powers that actually pay for shelter stay. For the most part, they would have to truly need shelter space. What they would do is try to put them in a hotel room if they could, but if they didn't have any hotel space, then they had no other choice but to come into shelter. We would accept them. When a family came into shelter, we had to put them on quarantine for 14 days, which sucks, because you now have a place, you're coming off the street or entering into a place, and then to hear them say you got to be locked in a room for 14 days, that's a bit much.
How is that facility big? So you were able to facilitate that? Because I'm figuring you're at capacity as it starts. Now you got to start valuing all these rooms up.
So we actually had like dorm style rooms. So it's 21 rooms in the shelter that I worked at.
Okay.
Yeah. So they all had their individual space anyways. But once we got opening, so if a person moved, which slowed that process down as well, because if a person was going to be housed, then you get a call from that housing program that said, because of COVID, we're not doing any move-ins right now. So, but every now and then we would get an opening, and that would be the protocol.
So how about feeding? Because now you were feeding as it was already anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So did it become like more now morning, afternoon, dinner? Was it always morning, afternoon, dinner for the people who were in the shelter?
It was. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then were you then just bringing the food to their rooms opposed to in dining?
So at one point we initially started out by having families. You could only sit with your family, so there wasn't any like co-mingling or anything like that. And then it got to the point where we would have to bring the food to the rooms.
Did you see anybody sort of just japping? I mean, because that's cabin fever all day long.
Yeah,
I mean, just, the kids in the room, you're in the room, not knowing what to go on, people wanting to smoke, people wanting to just get out, get some fresh air. I mean, what was the security like? I mean, did you have to, I'm sure I would just go crazy.
We tried to enforce it. There were some things that were, in my opinion, a little harsh. There would be times where if they didn't follow certain rules, we would have to ask them to leave. And understandably, on one side of the coin is to protect everybody. But at the same time, that's kind of hard to tell a grown person they can't go out to buy cigarettes if that's what they've been doing to survive. So
I mean, just everything, just get out. I mean, just to get out of just to be stuck in any place for any amount of time. I don't care how big it is, becomes a prison, and then you just go through just dealing with the person that's aggravating you. You can't get away from them. So I just know that to me, you're describing me being locked up. Just dealing with the same rigmarole and just getting frustrated. Did they start with did you know when things were going to be let up, or was this indefinite? You didn't know this? So I know, is it coming now? I'm going back to like the first day. You guys are getting these updates from the CDC or whatever's going on. And now you got these frustrated clients who are like, as the weeks go on, months go on. Did they ever tell you when it might end or when you can expect things to change, or was this like, this is indefinite?
We would let them know that it's indefinite. We would give daily updates. We would have meetings now in hallways where like they can open their doors and hear what's going on. But with COVID, it would sound like the numbers are going down and then they would go back up. So they would go back into this lockdown situation. So we would give them as much information as we could.
Yeah. I mean, where were you at in COVID? Were you scared? Because now you got to come in contact, like you're making yourself more susceptible to the virus because you're dealing with people on a regular, opposed to being sheltered in your house.
Right. I wouldn't necessarily say that I was scared, because for the most part I was going into a shelter environment with people who were following protocol, so they weren't really going anywhere. They weren't really exposing themselves to, much. So yeah. Did
you get vaccinated?
I did.
When? Because
the first go around.
First go around. Was it because of the job, or is it because of
Well, I did because of the unknown initially, but the job did
require it.
Yeah.
Was it a requirement? Was it because my son was talking about a little bit, was like you didn't have to, but you were going to get tested on the regular.
And that was the case. But for me, getting tested on the regular, it was just easier for me to say, okay, well, I just have to be vaccinated. And also with my second job, I had to be vaccinated. So
okay. How did you? So you weren't against it, or you didn't have this conspiratory thought process about it
at the time? No.
Okay. All right. Okay. And so then you went through that. You got a promotion during the COVID time, and was that based on? Were you due for a promotion, or was it?
Well, it was a matter of me just applying for another position within my company and getting that position.
Okay.
Someone retired. It was perfect timing for them to retire during COVID, and they shifted. I shifted. We just
beautiful thing. Did you prefer working in a shelter as opposed to this job? Because the shelter seems like a little bit more contact engagement.
And for me, it was a real hard transition, because I do like interacting with our clients that we serve. Not only that, but I was one of few in management that looked like me.
Right.
And the majority of the people that we serve, sadly, looked like me. And so I feel like I had a better rapport with them.
Yeah. for, I think, the world and the county.
Recording. Good afternoon. You're here today because you were a supervisor supervising individuals during COVID, and I'm here today because I want to demystify what's going on with COVID, or at least find out why.
So just back to what we were talking about, we're at welcome back. It's IGSTS. We're just going through COVID-19, and we moved you from working in the shelter to now dealing with families.
So, and in most cases, it's the same families, because once families go into shelter, then they are, again, identified as homeless, so they are assessed for this coordinated entry priority list within Ramsey County.
Did they ever change the way homelessness looks based on COVID? Because they have these stringent definitions. Did they ever allow individuals to be homeless without meeting a HUD definition of homeless?
So it's weird, because for singles they did, and if you were just staying in a place not meant for habitation, or you can be doubled up, then they actually would put you to the top of the list, and they tried to get those families that were out in the community or living outside of shelter housed first. So they went to the top of the priority list. Whereas with families, you still had to be, still had to meet the HUD definition of homelessness. Okay. So there were more opportunities for families that are long-term homeless or doubled up. More housing opportunities became available, but the priority list mostly consisted of HUD homeless families.
Did you see newer developments? What I mean, like apartment complexes coming up, facilitating that? Or was it just, because it seems like it's a zero number. If you don't have any houses, you don't have any houses.
Right.
If you can't till someone moves out, vacates, lose their place, can you fill that house? So did you see more places sprawling up during COVID?
So for programs that are site-based, so like transitional housing and a lot of permanent supportive housing programs, I mean, if nobody moves out, they don't move out, but they're site-based. What we did see was, because of the CARES Act, more money come into place, and there were more rapid rehousing programs.
What is that, rapid rehousing?
So rapid rehousing is programs that will start at a certain subsidy, and then it would work its way down until they feel like the family can afford to pay for housing on their own. So
what is it based on?
So the families would have to be working or have some type of income.
Okay.
But let's say there's a housing program that would pay 90% of your rent to start out. And they work with you on a financial plan and some other wraparound services. And after, let's say 3 months, it could be an 18-month program. It can last up to 24 months. So the programs varied as well. But at the beginning, they may pay 90%. And then after so many months, then they would go down to 60%. The last 3 months, they may pay 30%. But again, their ultimate goal is to have the family able to pay 100% on their own towards the end.
Is that through, now are they trying to get them better employment?
They do try to work with some of the families with financial and employment services as well.
Yeah.
It opened the door for some families that may get like Social Security, or we've dealt with some foster families. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine.
With foster families, so they may get that type of money, or they just may have really decent jobs, but couldn't find housing for whatever reason, so they end up being a part of the homeless population. But they were, rapid rehousing would allow them to be able to get housing that didn't have such a strict poverty income requirement, but it also would, so with those programs that I'm speaking about, they work kind of closely with landlords.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may be able to say, well, I'll give wraparound services. I'll check on this family. I'll make sure. And so some landlords that they commonly work with feel more comfortable renting to those type of families. So although we have subsidized housing that may have been full, we had some landlords that were willing to open their doors to get people housed.
Yeah, because I was just thinking if a person couldn't afford it, and then you had an income issue.
So for rapid rehousing, they had to have a certain amount of income before they to qualify.
Mm-hmm. That was outside of the apartment, because I'm thinking they had like rapid what the housing program would have its requirements, and that jived with the landlord's requirements, because you have to make so much to get a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom
exactly.
or whatever.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they were complementary to each other.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like, well, maybe they were just making, lowering the standards so individuals could get in, so they have housing, they wouldn't be on the streets, and then giving them an opportunity to. But however it is that program still in effect? It
is still in effect. Mm-hmm. Again, so it was more money, so there were more programs or more housing programs that were able to apply for that, so that there were more rapid rehousing vacancies. Again, that's not housing vacancies, but it's housing programs vacancies. So they would be able to give us, where they may have 3 openings a year, they may have gotten 12 in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
So it allowed us to be able to clear off our priority list a little bit. Not only that, but with the CARES Act, there also was an abundance of funds for public housing. So there were Section 8 vouchers that were given to families. Again, so where we have site-based programs that are full and people aren't making moves, now you're able to move into an apartment that may take Section 8, or a house from a landlord that may take Section 8. But those vouchers that I'm speaking about, they also had to come with, like, you had to have a service provider that was working with the families, which also had to provide wraparound services. So
were you guys doing any vaccination on site, or have you started doing vaccinations on site at your facilities?
So when I was at the shelter, they did offer vaccinations at the shelter. Mm-hmm.
Were people, was that a requirement to be there?
It was not.
It was not.
That was a big debate where they felt like they should make it a requirement, but that didn't win over so well. So
was it administration debating it?
It was.
So they should they make it? Yeah. So with that whole scenario with going through with housing, I would say that the COVID was a good thing as far as housing, because it allowed a lot more money to come through and get more people into housing.
It was, exactly.
And so that was a really good thing for you. So now looking back at it and how you guys went about dealing with it, in retrospect, do you think that there was a better way to deal with it, or did you guys hit it on everything was everything done the way it should have been done, or was there things missed?
I do think that as far as the shelter goes, I think that that could have been an opportunity to open up more shelter space. I feel like families were lost in that situation.
Explain that.
I feel like they focused more on singles.
Okay.
And second were youth, but families got lost in that. And because of that, you had families that would no longer become families. So a mother of 3 may leave her 3 kids with her mom or with her friend, or let the kids go stay with their friends at school while they go downtown to be a single person, so that they can try to get the services that they needed because they were slow to help a family.
Did you guys ever have conversations about that? Trying to improve that loophole in the system or it will, you know, because people have to, you know, they know the game, so they know what to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
So did you guys ever have conversations about that?
We did.
So,
but I don't know if we were invited to the table a little late, but at that time there were already things written and in place for singles, so there was not much that could be done.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm sorry.
No, that's just interesting. Like, again, you know, you said that before about the, you know, a single individual getting more priority over a family. And it would seem like they would be more concerned with the family, and not less concerned, but more, you know, maybe it would be, if you looked at it, both of them would get the same amount of concern, but the family would have more resources because it's bigger, you know, you have more vested in the family. If you keep the family together, you wouldn't end up with a lot of single fragments of family. So like I said, with that, I'm not sure why, or what's the purposes of it. But so now, as you sit in there, where was the new, were you guys cleaning a lot at the shelter when you were in the shelter?
We did. We cleaned a lot, and they actually hired new cleaning people to come in and clean more
often
as well.
Okay. And then the mask situation, the same thing. Were the clients required to clean?
So again, they're dorm style rooms, so they could clean as they choose. One thing that we used to do at the shelter was have weekly room checks to make sure that their room is livable, I guess you would say. That stopped, so people lived how they chose to live. But if you came out of your room, they did require masks. So
a mask, okay. Did the rooms have bathrooms in it, or was, okay? So it was that type of room. Correct. It was like hotel rooms.
They are.
Okay, so it was a hotel turned into a shelter.
It actually was, I believe, a nursing home.
It was turned into a shelter.
Into a shelter.
Yeah, it's just trying to figure out all the stuff that's going on during this time. So when it first started, you said that you were cool with the vaccination. You were cool. Were you kind of apprehensive about what was going on? Didn't really know what was going on. Didn't know if the world was going to end, type deal.
I didn't know what was going on. It was scary. You didn't know if this was something that was man-made, if this was just, you know, all kind of thoughts go through your head. But I did feel like I've always had my thoughts about the flu shot, so I don't take that.
Did you ever get COVID?
I did.
Did you get it bad, or did you get the milder version of it?
I think I got the milder version of it.
Yeah. How long were you down?
Maybe 5 days.
Were you? Could you breathe? Breathing issues?
No, I was fine. I think like the third day may have been like my worst day.
Yeah.
The first day I woke up, my throat was sore, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. And but it was a different kind of sore throat, so I was like, let me just go get tested. I mean, the true story is I went to Puerto Rico, and that's when I ended up with it. So but I decided to get tested, and it came back positive, and this was after the vaccination. But that third day was like, what the heck is going on? High fever.
You said after the vaccination, you got it.
Yeah.
How long after the vaccination?
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you flew on a plane to Puerto Rico, they had the COVID protocol in, right? People weren't sitting next to each other. Had to wear a mask the whole time. You know,
let me rephrase that. So I actually got it maybe about a year.
After?
A year, 3 months. Yeah, now that I think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, COVID was 2020, and I went to Puerto Rico in 2021. So yeah.
Okay,
so,
well, yeah. Because
I was just thinking, we didn't have to separate.
Yeah, because I rode down there during it, and you had to have the mask on the whole time, and but it was great because the seating, you kept set every other person,
and that's what made me realize, that wasn't the case, because I went with my daughter, and everybody was seated normally on the plane. So
so that was good. I mean, during that time, it was all right. I just hate wearing the mask the whole time. That just irritated me. But so at the house, so when you got it and you realized it was COVID, and You said you didn't really get it severe. You didn't really get it like.
No. Like I said, the third day was really bad. And then I was fine. I woke up the fourth day. Like
when you said really bad, you couldn't get out of the bed really bad?
I didn't, yeah. I had a really bad headache. My body was aching. I had a high fever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Literally 24 hours, if that. So,
yeah. So as far as the vaccination, do you feel like people should get it or shouldn't get it, or you just like doesn't really matter? Do you have your opinions on it any way? What?
I think that it's a personal choice. Like I said, I have my thoughts about the flu vaccine, so I have not taken it in many years.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like at this point, that's how I feel about the COVID vaccine. Like now they have this new one rolled out. I don't plan to take
the extra bonus.
Yeah.
You know. So do you like far as it in the future, because this is something like you said the flu, and if it's something like we grew up with certain things we had to do as a kid coming up. Think COVID's going to be around for a while. People they're gonna adjust to it as such, but it's always going to be this vaccination, something from here on. We've seen the start of their flu.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I wasn't here when the flu started.
Right. Yeah.
But it's so this is a thing. What's so update us? What do you got in store? What's going on for the new year?
I don't really have any plans. I'm trying to decide if Minnesota is where I want to be.
That's true. I mean, yeah, you said you're going to DC for a little bit, hanging out. I mean, it's warmer. It's warmer weather other places.
Yeah.
It's not winter.
Yeah.
You don't even know what winter look like.
I know exactly. Yeah. And I think for me, just dealing with COVID and dealing with the George Floyd incident and dealing with like a lot of stuff that has been happening since 2020. In the shelter, dealing with the homeless population, dealing with how their emotions are easily triggered, and trying to be a middle person between the powers that be and the families that we serve has kind of taken a toll on me, I think. So
is it an emotional toll because you're with every family, or it's just the fact that you see that they're underserved?
I think it's the fact that I see that they are underserved, the fact that I see that some of the people that are making the decisions are not making those decisions with those families' best interest in mind, or the thought of what these families have to deal with every day. Is that
a fiscal decision, or it's just like they're disconnected? Because I would assume that these individuals who have these jobs have to be somewhere connected because they chose a profession. So if it's fiscally, if they're saying we don't have enough money, opposed to them saying like we really don't care about these folks, we just want them off the streets.
I think that the money could be spent better.
Okay.
So, and I think it's not spent better because of the disconnect.
What do you feel about the encampments? Because the reason I ask about that is because I just went down Lake Street and next to that old Kmart, they had a encampment that sprawled up. That post. It was Kmart. It was the Kmart. Yeah. Once you get off the highway, I'm just going to explain it. So once you get off the highway and you turn off 35W, you turn to go down Lake Street toward Uptown, they had an encampment that sprawled up. It was huge. It looked like a refugee camp. It was so many natives, reclaiming their land, right?
Yeah.
And when I rode past, I was like, man, when you turn down to go down, it seems like you're in another country. And I rode down there today, they fenced it up. They put fences so these individuals, they must have kicked them off the land and then put the fences up to keep them from coming back to the land.
Oh, wow.
So the whole big surge of that has been the natives taking back their land, building these tents, take these tent cities, taking over the city. But I mean, being in the field that you're in, and then saying that these individuals are underserved, and then people not being at this table that could actually talk about what's necessary to serve these people. How do you feel about the encampments?
I feel like a conversation can go a long way if you get to know their reasoning for being in these encampments. If it's because they have nowhere to go and they would rather be inside, then let's figure out a way to make that happen. Let's put some resources together. let's try to help. But if they are there because this is how they choose to or want to live, I just think that it's like inhumane to tear someone's version of home down. So.
Yeah. I just thought, because I looked up, there was like rent-a-fence was on a fence. So they just threw it up like these fences, like almost like, not dog cages, but they fenced in the areas where they could actually go back into that area where it was cleared out. And it's just for them to put so many resources in that. And then the individuals who got arrested, you know, for not moving away, because it was a lot of people. There was over 100 in that area. Okay. So to me, it's just like you said. I mean, when the way you describe this system, the health, well, the housing situation where they have these requirements that they put people into in order for them to jump through these hoops in order to get this voucher, or to move in the house, or to have a worker and all this other stuff. And be, you know, confined for the most part, or into it having a curfew and dealing with, sometimes did they have to get drug tested and test for sobriety in your shelters?
Well, yes and no. So for the most part, no, they didn't have to do all that. But if there was suspicion of drug use or alcohol use, because it was a zero tolerance shelter. If there was a reason for it where they felt like they could harm themselves or their children or others, then we did.
What's that called? It's called, it's something, it's a protocol for as harm reduction. That protocol. So yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, I just brought you back because like I was curious about how COVID had changed the way you guys do business or the way you guys interact with your clients. To me, I just think like for the most part, it was a benefit in the fact that it provided a little bit more access to money to put people in housing.
It did. Which is interesting because where was that money
before? And why didn't you have it? Why didn't you have it?
We could have solved this issue. They could have already been housed.
Well, you could at least, like you said, you cleaned off your board. You could have cleaned off that board a long time ago.
Exactly.
You know, instead of having these people sit in this funnel, just waiting. You know, and so that's another thing to go with. That's another thing to deal with. Just COVID in general. Just talking about how that made things look a lot different for everybody. Yeah. And from that point on, how we talk about things are totally different. How we even interact with each other is totally different. You know. So I thank you for coming. So I got you coming home from work, but I tried to catch up with you because I know how these next couple of days are going to be up into Thanksgiving. So I wanted to get you in because I knew I needed to get you in before the end of the year. But I appreciate you coming back. It was great talking to you. You always enlighten me and make me think a little bit different about just homelessness in general. Like that, you know, you see people on the streets and you ride past them, but then you don't understand what they have to go to just to get themselves into housing. And like you said, if they're being underserved or they're being ignored I think we even talked about mental illness being that part of another part of people being homeless and dealing with that issue, you know, and it's not an issue, it's just dealing with that on top of individuals unable to find housing. And it's a shortage of housing in general. I mean, they're building up like crazy, but if you walk into any of these places, they look so much the same.
They do.
It's just like there's no style to them. They just look like they're just building these boxes for people to move into. I mean, they might look good from the outside, but when you walk inside, they're all the same.
Yeah. I mean, they all look the same from the outside too.
It's
honestly.
depressing.
Yeah,
just depressing.
And it's not as affordable as
they want to make you seem.
Exactly.
But the two with the housing, you know, where you run into a place like this where you get a person who really doesn't care, then you get into apartment complexes where they're so authoritative that every day you got a memo on your door saying you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. It's like one way or the other. It's like they're either micromanaging you to a point of makes no sense, or or they're just not doing anything.
Right.
One thing I wanted to bring up before we close, and I think that this is wild. There's I've noticed it a lot where individuals are coming into apartment complexes and they're living there. The community rooms, the laundry rooms, the storage rooms. They're just coming over, taking over.
Yeah.
And have you guys talked about that, experienced that, heard about that? Is it something new for you?
I have not.
It's going on.
Honestly, like not here in Minnesota. Like I've heard of other places where it's happened, but I haven't. I believe it.
It's a thing.
Really?
For real. Like you won't be surprised if somebody, like your laundry room locks. So, but you know, some places they have laundries inside their house, but I mean, inside their apartments. But some places, once they get access, they actually start moving into the community rooms and living in the building, and living in the building. I mean, it's a thing. It's going on. I don't know how popular it's gonna get, but it's not something that's like it's happening on a regular basis. And it's ridiculous.
And I'm sure it's hard to get them out once they're in there too. So
it's just it's families.
Okay.
Yeah, families. You know, you get individuals, but it's families coming in, living, you know, posted up.
Wow. I mean, people do what they have to do to survive. I mean, that's unfortunate for the apartment complex that's going to be struggling to try to get them out. But sometimes you got to do what's best for your kid. Again, the conversation goes a long way. So, like, talk. Like, let's see if we can provide a resource for them. You know.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So I just wanted to see how that was coming about, or what you were hearing on that. But I thank you again for coming. Appreciate you. It's so good to see, you know, to hear the success that you're having, especially nowadays. You know, to see that, you know, how well your daughter's doing, how well you're doing. Everything is really going fantastic. So it's just good to be in that presence, just to have that conversation. Like, so what I'm basically trying to say is to see our children being successful is a beautiful thing. And as much as I appreciate my daughter, I definitely appreciate your daughter. And just to see, like, the world is theirs.
Yeah,
likewise. They can do everything, anything they want to do. But it started at home. It started with you. You know, it started with you making sure she did everything she was supposed to do to get to this particular point. So when she walks across the stage, I don't know if they're going to give her a rose or whatever, but in nursing, they give out roses, you get a rose or whatever. I'm sure that's going to be going to you.
Oh, well, thank you. It's all about the sacrifices that we have made.
Yes,
so,
it is. Yes, it is. And the guiding light that she had as a mother who's a professional that was getting it. You know, getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just like you said, when you told your story at first, you were struggling, making it happen. So just to see that, and you can't fail. You can't. There's no way. If your mom's doing it and she's raising those children, you can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Yep.
They building the houses, the new apartments like Legos. I didn't stop it yet. But that's what I wanted to say, but I ain't want to mess with y'all.
A long weekend. Thanksgiving.
I guess.
It's just right around the corner.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You know, I'll do it.
I gotta get to it though.
Shoot. So yeah, we're just gonna it's just real simple. Just cover your experience in your field during COVID-19 and what you guys did, the protocols, because it was new for everybody. So everybody had to come up with these contingency plans based on getting people off the streets, putting them in housing, just dealing with it, because a lot of people were scared dealing with it, because it made it seem as though we didn't know what it was, you know. And then you know, how you worked, if you worked. Just go through that real fast, and then just anything that stuck out with you, because I know a lot of times, I just did an interview before and I was talking to my son about it, because he worked with Ramsey County, but he worked when they set up those makeshift hotels. He was working there. So his thing was, just not knowing what was going on,
Right.
and them dealing with things like on, from mask wearing to cleaning every hour, so just take us through that time and what you were experiencing and what you guys did to combat it, and then how does it look now? So like before, during, and then after, if you can remember the best recollection.
Okay, yeah. But so for me, it was like a transition though, because I started out in the working, like running a shelter when it first started.
Mm-hmm.
But halfway through COVID, I got a promotion where I was moved out of shelter, and so I started then housing families. So
were you, but were you still you're still dealing with COVID protocol in housing families, right?
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
Yeah, and so this is why I say that, because once I moved out of the shelter, what I did was we started housing families, and I don't know if it's a plus or a minus, but we started getting like American, like the what is it called, American Family Act or whatever, where they got all that COVID money.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to house more people than ever before.
Were you? Well, let's go. Well, that's because that's interesting, because that's a whole nother aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just changes. Like maybe before that, were you turning those people away because you didn't have the money to put them in housing?
So before, people were just on the waiting list for a very long time.
Okay,
Yeah.
it just shortened that. So that was a benefit. So it actually helped along the way. So we're just gonna start it off. I can welcome you back. It's the second time you've been on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then say your name again. You don't have to say where you worked, but you can say your profession, what you do. 'Cause that's key. Because I'm using your lived experience.
Okay. So should I speak about the fact that that these people got Section 8 vouchers in? Because that's kind of being more detailed about.
No, as long as you don't use names or, you can use certain experience, but as long as we don't, because I work in the field too, so as long as we're not disclosing things that would be an issue.
Okay.
So if you want to talk about an experience of dealing with a family who had been housed for a while, you were able, because of that act, being able to put them in housing, which is be great. You know what I'm saying? Just, show that. But like I said, I'll just walk you through the whole deal. And then, what are you now? I know you're not in the shelters anymore, but maybe you can clue us into what you guys are doing in the shelters now. Are you guys still using masks? Are you guys I
mean, I still work close with the shelters. They're our sister site, so I can tell you what they're doing.
Just bring us up to speed. Are you guys offering vaccinations down there? What are you guys doing? And then we'll be done. It'll be painless.
Okay.
Hopefully.
It's never painless. I'm shy. I don't know why y'all don't.
I don't know why you don't seem like it. Southern girl.
That's why I've been recording. I ain't even told nobody I turned the cameras on. I had the cameras on from the time you sat down.
But now you go ahead, hit it now, because you can.
I'm gonna stop.
I got something to say.
More than ever now,